Let's see where this one ends up.
Looks like it's going to be the center fielder. Freeman makes the play, but he's going to get back in there safely.
After review, the call on the field is overturned. The runner is out.
We all know about this season's new base obstruction enforcement, so the question asked is how can replay overturn the umpire's safe call here to an out, given that the fielder without possession of the ball clearly stuck his leg into the runner's path? After all, we've seen this called earlier.
Strike him out, throw him out to end the inning.
I was wrong.
Oh, no. Well, one of the new rules is you cannot block the bat.
The enforcement of this existing rule was stepped up specifically to target fielders using their leg to block runners without the ball and when they don't need that leg there to field the ball. This looks to be exactly what happened here. Fielders blocking the runner and not holding any balls, so why would replay overturn this umpire's adamant safe call? Compare the example obstruction and this play, they look really similar.
They overturn it. Aaron Boone's going to go out and get an explanation, and I'm sure Nelly is going to be talking about the obstruction rule.
So here's something important to note about the obstruction rule. It's not reviewable. Cleveland's challenge is the umpire's safe call on the tag. That is reviewable and overturned because the base was touched before the runner got there. Remember, it's an outfield tag-up play. Replay can't touch obstruction, so what happened here?
He could have slid between Josh Naylor's legs and have been in there easily.
True.
But by trying to push him, he never got to the base.
To clarify obstruction, because we were asked, no, splitting the legs does not prevent that call. This is obstruction. Having to go through the legs to touch the base is not reasonable. Now, take a step back and straddle the base, that's one thing. But stand in front of it, that's obstruction, all else equal.
It's not intentional, otherwise you could have called obstruction. But Josh is in the act of fielding a throw,
Right.
so that's why there's no obstruction.
No, that statement is wrong. Obstruction does not require intent. There is only one situation when it does, and that's a batter runner obstructed to first base when they're going back to home plate in a rundown. So if somehow the catcher unintentionally obstructs this batter runner from getting to home plate, that's stupid, it's not obstruction. This is obstruction because that was the first baseman obstructing the batter runner going to first base. Back to this play in Cleveland, this is obstruction because the fielder placed his leg in the runner's path without needing to occupy that space to field the ball. That is what the point of emphasis this season is all about.
A heck of a heads-up play by Josh Naylor.
I'll agree, but back to the question at hand, why did replay overturn? Answer, the umpire never called obstruction. How do we know? 1, no time mechanic. 2, Type 1 requires the obstructed runner be awarded their next base even if they're retreating. So without this non-reviewable obstruction call, there was no award. This is simply safe out. Base was tagged before runner got there. It's an out. Simple. Very similar to a play we saw before with the umpire calling a runner safe at second. That runner clearly pushed off, but the umpire didn't have a push off, just safe. So replay overturned safe to out because runner tagged off base. Stu, what are you doing?
Making chocolate pudding.
Same. So there's an ejection because this is a really dumb way to overturn this call, not within the spirit of the rules at all.
The runner is out.
And that's where he's frustrated.
There you go. Now he's going. Yeah, here you go. He's going to get his money's worth now.
Umpire's like, I called him safe. Why are you yelling at me? Well, you had to call him safe because he was pushed off. Not just safe. Such a technicality.
Technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Just recently, an obstruction no call led to Dave Martinez's ejection by 2 umpires.
He's trying to get through to the replay people like, what are we watching? What are we doing here?
Well, they're apparently following the rules that say you can't review obstruction.
He wanted his point of emphasis.
Remember, a fielder with the ball can block the base, but without, they're only allowed to block if they must occupy that space to field the ball. That is the entire purpose of this point of emphasis for obstruction. The whole point is to close that loophole, so to speak, and it must be called on the field. Safe isn't good enough. It needs to be safe for a non-reviewable reason, like a push-off, or in this case, obstruction.
What was it on the bag? He got in front of the bag. I don't think he was able to get his foot back on it.
And that's what happened.
Thanks for the question. Like, subscribe. This video was out 3 days earlier for our channel members. Thank you for your support. We'll see you on the site.